When you're walking through a forest, it's easy to get caught up in the big, living stuff, right? The towering trees, the green canopy. But what about all the trees lying on the ground? We usually just step right over them. But it turns out they have this whole secret life going on. And it's incredibly important.
Yeah, that's the thing. A dead tree falling in the forest, it's not an ending. It's actually a beginning. It kicks off this slow, super complex, and absolutely vital process that, well, it pretty much supports the entire health of the forest.
So there's actually a scientific name for all this stuff. It's called coarse woody debris, or CWD for short. And that covers the whole shebang. The huge fallen logs, the big branches, even those dead trees that are still standing, those are called snags. And this CWD, that's what we're going to dive into.
Okay, so why should we care about a bunch of old logs, right? Well, here's the kicker. On a global scale, they are a massive storage unit for carbon. You can think of them as these secret, hidden carbon banks, just sitting on the forest floor, locking away greenhouse gases.
And this isn't just a cool idea. The research we're looking at today really drives this home. This dead wood isn't just leftover trash from the forest. Nope, it's a core, structural, and functional part of the whole system. I mean, it's providing homes for critters, it's recycling nutrients, and, this is the big one, it's holding on to tons and tons of carbon that would otherwise be up in our atmosphere.
So that leads to the big question, doesn't it? How in the world does a massive, solid tree trunk just disappear back into the earth? Let's get into the actual science of how this decay happens.
It really comes down to three main things. First, you've got chemical stuff, rain slowly dissolving bits and pieces. Then there's the physical breakdown. The wood just kind of crumbles and breaks into smaller chunks. But the main event, the process that does almost all of the heavy lifting, is biological. It's things eating it.
And that means we've got to meet the crew responsible for all this. I want you to picture nature's ultimate cleanup and recycling team. These guys work 24/7, breaking down one of the toughest materials on Earth, wood.
So, who exactly is on this all-star team? Who's doing all this work?
Well, take a look at this. The answer is kind of surprising. The undisputed, heavyweight champions of breaking down wood are fungi. We're talking more than half the work in pretty much every climate you can find. Termites? Yeah, they're big players, but it depends where you are. And then you've got beetles and bacteria playing smaller but still important roles.
Right, so let's break that down. Fungi are basically the MVPs everywhere. They're the universal constant. Termites, on the other hand, are specialists. They really only get into the game in those warmer, wetter places, the tropics and subtropics. And when they do, boy, they make a difference, contributing up to 40% of the decay.
And that little detail about where termites live, it brings us to the single most important factor in this whole story. Forget the type of wood, forget which decomposer it is. When it comes to the speed of decay, climate is king. Seriously, where a tree falls basically determines everything.
And to really nail this down, the scientists behind this study looked at data from 89 different spots all across North America. I mean, they covered a huge range of climates, from the hot, humid tropics all the way up to the frigid boreal forest to the far north.
And whoa, the results are just stunning. This graph says it all. See those lines that drop off a cliff? Those are the tropical and temperate forests, where a log can basically vanish in just a couple of decades. Now look way up top. See that line that's barely moving? That's a boreal forest. Up there, the exact same process can take over a century. So here's takeaway number one, and it's a big one. More heat equals faster decay. Simple as that. But it's not just a straight line. The rate actually increases exponentially. That means even a small bump in temperature can dramatically speed up the little biological engines of those fungi and all the other decomposers.
Okay, so the second key ingredient, water. It makes sense, right? More rain means more moisture, and that's exactly what the cleanup crew needs to do its job. You can see the decay rate just shoots up as you get more rainfall. It really shows you just how thirsty this whole process is.
But wait a minute, not all precipitation is created equal. Snowfall, it does the complete opposite. A thick blanket of snow basically turns the forest floor into a giant refrigerator. It keeps everything cold, insulated, and slams the brakes on decomposition.
All right, let's pull all these threads together. We've talked about the who, the decomposers. We've talked about the how, the process of decay, and the where, the role of climate. But let's get back to the biggest question of all. Why does any of this really matter?
It matters because the next time you're out on a trail and you step over a fallen log, you're not going to see it the same way. you'll know what you're really looking at. It's not just a dead piece of wood. It's a bustling habitat for countless creatures, it's a slow-release fertilizer for the entire forest, and it's a vital carbon bank, all wrapped up in one.
And if you want a nice, clean number to take away from all this, here it is. The study found that, on average, across all of North America, it takes about 12.5 years for a log to lose half its mass. It's kind of that perfect middle ground, right? Somewhere between the super-fast tropics and the deep freeze of the boreal forests.
And that leaves us with one last massive question. We've established pretty clearly that climate is king here, right? Temperature and rain are the master controls. So, as our planet continues to warm up, what's going to happen to these carbon banks? Will they start to break down faster, releasing all that stored carbon back into the atmosphere? And if they do, how will that feed back into our changing climate?